And we're live.
Well, hello everybody. Welcome to week 5, block 2, just 1 week late. So the snow is still all out there and the roads are a little bit narrower, but the sun is shining and we're ready to sow. So I hope everybody has, got all shoveled out. I'd like to hear how your living through that storm worked out. Let us know. So don't forget to say hi so we know who's there and to make sure that we know that you're actually hearing us. And also don't forget to like and subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't done that already. So this week we're doing block 2. So it looks like a lot of work, but we're really going to break it down into little sections.
And we've already done some of the piecing.
Exactly. So I've cut my strips according to the pattern. We're going to talk about the strips in a second. And I also had to find my F and my G flying geese, as well as my F half square triangles, because we're going to be using those today to make our block.
And that is the flying geese in the 2.5 by 4.5 size. For those of you that have queen size, it's just the 2.5 by 4.5s we need today.
Alrighty, so we're just going to, like I said, it looks like a lot of work, but we're just going to break it down into little sections. So the first thing I'm going to do is sew the 4 patch that's in the middle. Now you could have cut 2.5-inch squares and you're just going to sew them all together with that perfect seam, but I'm going to strip piece my 2 pieces together just because I can, and it might work a little faster. We shall see. So I'm just going to take my H and my I and place the right sides together. You can pin if you want, or you can use your seam align glue. And we are just going to sew with our perfect 1/4-inch seam.
I'll do that.
Thank you. We're just trying to turn the iron on. Alrighty, so here we go. So again, making sure my edges all line up and not sewing past my fingers, because this is the only part that I know is straight. So we're just going to concentrate on the 1 block today. Do you have any questions on the previous week's blocks? If there was any questions, please don't hesitate to ask us. And maybe somebody else has that same question that they'd like, that they would like to hear an answer to. Tiffany, you don't have any direction of seams, does it matter?
Well, H and I are going to spin the seam.
Okay.
Doesn't matter which way, just spin.
So I'm just going to move this out of the way so my cord doesn't, I have my corded iron today, and I don't want to knock my strips all on the floor. Tiffany, this iron's not working.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
I will go grab the other one.
Thank you.
Where did you find that one?
It was down on the floor over here, so maybe
Okay,
it's
so
broke.
that's why. That was the one that wasn't working.
Okay. So let's just give this a second. That was quite the storm, wasn't it? We are still kind of snowed in. We are wide open, and one lady laughed at us last week. She was able to come in with her walkers, so she said there is enough room on the door that they can get it open. But it's nice to see the sun. So now I'm just going to press, and remember, like we talked about before, that we want to try to keep this as straight as we can. We could have even drawn a line on our pressing mat and making sure that seam goes in the proper direction. Now, if you just want to double check, you can check. I'm sewing with a different machine, so I want to check anyways. I want to make sure that my unit measures 4.5, and it does, so we are good to go. Now I'm going to cut my strip set into 2.5-inch pieces. So I'm first going to cut my edge so it's nice and straight. I'm going to take any line on the ruler and place it on the fold of my fabric. When I'm doing a pieced unit, I want to use the actual, not the fold, but the seam, because that's what we need to keep straight in our block. We don't want our blocks to start twisting one way or the other. So now that I've cut my edge nice, I am going to cut this into 2.5-inch units. Just by placing my 2.5-inch line, I have any line on my ruler on my seam. And I only need one of these units today because I'm only going to concentrate on the one block. But I could cut all of these and then sew them up. So you would have to cut 12 units in total, and that makes 6 4 patches. So now all I'm going to do is flip them around and we will sew these together.
West End Quilter says that she finally got the snow off the top of her van. Yay to that. That was quite the task. I know it was for me anyway. And then we have some hellos from Val and Ann, from Barbara, and hello from Ontario, and a hello from Elliott Lake.
Nice. Okay, so again, remembering like we talked about last time, that this seam will butt nest really nicely because they're both going in opposite directions. So I just want to wiggle that and jiggle it so I don't feel the gap, so the top's lined up and everything's nice. And I'm going to stick a pin in that intersection. I'll stick a pin over here to control this edge. And now I'm going to sew. I'm going to line that up so it's perfect. Just make sure your seam allowance is going to be going in the right direction. And sometimes it helps to go a little slower when you have that bulk, just to make sure that it doesn't push sideways. We want to make sure that it always stays straight. Now, if I was doing a whole bunch of them, I would stop at this point with my needle down, and then I could just feed my next unit in, and I end up with that chain of piecing that works really well, holding our ends, using less thread. Good things to go. So I'm just going to peek first and make sure it's lined up pretty good. So it is. So now I want to spin that seam. So just to recap that, this is the seam that I just sewed. So I want to unpick the stitches down to that previously sewn seam, turn it over and unpick those, usually 3 or 4 stitches depending on your sewing machine.
Remember, we should be sewing with a 2.0 millimeter stitch length.
So now when I open it up, and these two were already pressed, so they're going in this direction, so I want them to go all in the same direction. So that little 4 patch in the center should open up perfectly. I just press it with my finger, and now I want to press on this side. When you're spinning them, they have a tendency to want to fold over a little bit.
Ooh, a hello from Timmins.
Oh, hi Timmins.
Must be cold up there.
Did you get a big dumping again, or did you have all your snow at Christmas time? I know you've had enough of it. And there we go. And our unit should measure 4.5 by 4.5. Looks pretty good to me. So now the second thing that we want to do is we want to make these corner units. Now those 4 units are identical. Excuse me. They are identical. They're just rotated around the block. So we're going to set up for all 4. So I need 4 J squares. And then I need 4 of the background squares. Then I will need 2 sets of 4. So 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 half square triangles. I was going to call them flying geese. And we want to make sure that when we place them, the fabric F is around the J square, and they're like making a bow tie. So that will be the proper placement.
And I did draw arrows on here for...
Okay, perfect.
Pressing.
So we are also going to be sewing this folded corner on. I'm going to sew my units together first, and then I'm going to place my folded corner on. You can do it either way. If you wanted to place the corner on first, you can put it on here. I just know that if I have these units done before I put my folded corner on, I'll make sure that it's put on the correct corner and it won't get twisted into my block. So here we go. So all we're going to do is we're going to start with the first pile, and we're going to take the one on the right and place it on the left, and we are going to sew.
Can you hold on for a second? Do it that way.
Do it this way. Oh,
Just
because it's
pressing.
matching the picture?
Yeah.
Okay, sure. So we're doing it just to match this corner. So here's the one thing that I wanted to say. Normally we take the one on the right and flip it over to the left and sew. Some machines have more problems sewing a bulky seam to get started. So you could always sew from this side, and then you're not having that bulky seam. Just make sure if you're flipping them that you're going to be sewing on the right side, on the correct side. So I've got that locked in with my needle down. Now I can adjust my seams here, make sure everything is good, adjust my edges, and go. Now I'm going to take my second unit.
Wow, she said they got about 6 feet of snow up in Timmins.
What? This last weekend?
I'm not sure. But she said more snow tomorrow.
Oh, yay.
Gotta love that.
Oh, somebody must have really ticked off Mother Nature, I tell you. And our next unit. So I'm going to sew all 4.
Did you rotate that?
I did.
I mean, did you rotate that the wrong way?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
We'll find out when I open it up. I am sewing this seam right here. Yeah, it should be the same.
Okay.
Good call, though. We'll find out when we open them up.
It looked wrong, but maybe it's right.
So now I'm going to continue on. That's just in my machine. It's holding my threads. So now I'm going to go to my next row. So all I have to do with these ones is take, again, the one on the right, flip it right side over to the one on the left, and I'm going to sew. And because I don't have a bulky seam at the beginning, I am just going to sew exactly the way I should be, lining up my edges and sewing. And we need 4 of these.
You did. Okay.
Two, 3, and 4. to know how long you've have all been sewing. I think some people had commented on one of our posts. It's really nice to hear the history of when you quilted or how you found me. It's interesting to hear the history behind it. So here's a little tip for you. You know the cutter that's on your sewing machine? We can cut our units apart with our scissors, but we can also use to chain piece the little cutter on our sewing machine. And I am just going to snap these all apart. Quick as can be. I don't lose that. It's on my sewing machine and I always know where it is. So now what I'm going to do is I am going to place, oh, this one didn't sew.
Oh,
whoops. Sometimes that happens when you first start off. I'm just going to unsew it because the bottom's crooked too. Since there's only about 4 stitches left there.
that must have been your first one.
It was my first one.
That is why we like a leader.
I was just going to ask you if you could find me a leader.
Yes, but you have to cut it.
Yeah, I can do that. Thank you, dear. Whoops. Can I have it back now? Alrighty. Again, a leader is just going to hold my threads and have them ready over at the end. So it's going to just hold my threads so I'm ready to go. Now, if I had a second leader, I could put that in now, or I'm just going to grab the first one. I am just going to get it attached to my machine. I can clip my thread there, and we're good to go. We're going this way?
Yes.
Towards the point, not towards the square?
Because we want that flying goose to press away from the point.
Yeah. We're pressing towards 2 points. Yeah. Okay, I hear you.
Unless you want to press that flying goose open,
that might be. We're just doing some math here. That might be a little bit better because it's much easier to sew.
If you press the flying goose open, you could spin them. But I thought you might want to sew that seam if you were quilting.
Yeah. I do maybe want to sew in the ditch. If we were going to custom quilt that, you might want to sew in that ditch. So then that means that we can't open up a seam. So then I think we talked about that before. So, but if we sew this way, press this way and press that way, and then we can still press up.
But then
this one's
then
going
your seams
to.
don't butt.
This one will go.
Then your seams won't nest.
Go this way and this way. Those seams will nest.
No, they won't nest here.
But they won't nest there. Oh. Okay. Okay, we're just going to take it from the designer here and we're going to have to do it that way. Again, we love to give you the ideas on how to press. And of course, you know, you can always do something a little bit different. But we're going to go with what the designer said and we're going to press. So you can see that we're going to have to struggle a little bit more to get that seam to lie, the corner to lie where we want it to lie. And because she knows exactly how they're going into the quilt, she has a better idea what's going to happen later on. Which she's looking at the pattern right now. Again, setting our seam and pressing that.
Those specific seams won't matter later on.
Okay. So if you're struggling to get these to lay nice and flat, there's a couple things you can do. You can opt to press in the other direction and then fight with it a little bit more with the flying geese. Or we could use a starch pen as well. So this one we are again pressing towards our unit. So if I just take a little bit of a starch pen, and what it is like a felt tip marker that I put starch in, I can just wet this seam. Now when I open it up, it will stay nice and flat exactly where I want it to be. Again, just set my seam, give it a little dampness. So what it does is the starch in the pen actually relaxes the fabrics a little bit, so we can get a nice fold on our seam allowance. And then once you press it, it dries it in the proper place, so you just get a better, crisper seam. And now before I go on, I am just going to check my pattern again and make sure that I have them all going in the proper direction. So again, to match my fabric, or my pattern, I mean, my J squares on the right, my half square triangle is on the right as well. So now I can sew this center seam. So all I'm going to do is take the two units, butt them together, and because we pressed in opposite directions, I am going to nest that seam again. I always like to pin my seams that are nesting. And then sometimes even the seams that aren't nesting, especially those. And because I have a longer unit, I am going to sew my end piece here as well. And because I'm going to start sewing, I can just line this up.
Pin, not sew.
Or, thank you, pin. So now this time you could see that I had to help it along a little bit. That's because we have that really bulky seam that we're sewing over top of. And the machine wants to, sometimes they want to complain a little bit. Especially some of the smaller machines. If you're having a really hard time and the sewing machine seems to be pressing the fabric into your the little slot, the needle
Cindy,
slot on your plate.
I think you have a size 90 needle on there, which is might be why you're struggling.
Is it really? I never checked my needle. How about if we change that?
Here's a 70 for you.
Thank you. Thank you. I grabbed a new machine today. I'm not using the regular one. This is the Quilt Expression 725 because I want to show you something that's really cool with this new machine that we talked about but you haven't seen, and I've had some questions about. So I will, so I never thought to check the needle. I checked the thread and I changed the bobbin, but I never thought to change the needle. Good eyes, Tiff.
I just realized because I was wondering why you were struggling on a bigger machine to go through those bulky seams, but a big needle doesn't help.
Just trying to make sure I don't get my thread stuck in there. So this machine has, lift my foot up. It has another really neat function. If I put my thread through here, let's see if I did it right. If it works, I'm going to put my foot down. Oh, and I'm going to, oh, I'm sorry. I have an automatic needle threader. Do you want to try it again? Watch, this time it won't work. So I'm going to put it through these teeth, through here, cut my thread. I'm going to put my foot down, and then I'm going to use this little lever. Thank you, Tiffany. A little thingamajig on the side. And I just push down, and it automatically threads my thread for me. Really great for our eyes that are getting a little older. Okay, so let's start again. Let's nest the seam. I'm not unsewing that one or by any means. It's sewed just fine. I just find that the 70, a new 70 needle,
or an 80, but definitely not a 90,
will work fine. I don't know how long that's been sewing on either. So that could also have a problem with that. I'm not lined up. There
yeah, that looked like it might have been the original needle that came with the machine.
It could be. Could be.
We have a question. Do you sell foundation paper piecing patterns in your shop? Yes and no.
Yes and no. I did have a couple books of them over there. I do sell the foundation paper that goes through the printers, because those are really cool. But I do have those.
And we can also special order stuff like the legit kits, if that's the kind of paper piecing you're into.
Yeah. If you haven't seen legit kits, look them up. They are extreme paper piecing patterns. They're fantastic. One of the things, though, also in the store, if you have something specific that you would like, if you've seen a book or a pattern online that you would love to do, just give me a little email or a little buzz and say, Cindy, can you get this? It's this pattern by whoever it is, and I can see if I can get it through my suppliers.
Because a lot of times we can.
Gee, that's so much better. So anyways, let's try this again. We got 2 more to go. So I'm going to butt that seam. You can also peek if you want to peek to make sure that it's lined up the best that you can. I'm going to line up this corner. And I'm going to line up this corner. Now, if you watch very carefully, are you focused in on the needle or?
Yeah, I can come closer.
So what ends up happening if your machine is having issues with that lump that's in there, all I'm going to do is take a couple slow stitches. I've grabbed my unit back here and I'm just putting, I'm not pulling. I don't want to pull really hard and stretch stitches or anything or stretch fabric. I'm just giving it a little bit of tension and sewing slowly, and it gets right over the bump. Again, sewed up to my pin. I'll take my pin out only at the last second. Sewing to the next one. I want to make sure that my seam allowance doesn't get caught on my foot. Again, I can hold it with my pin until the very last second, and it's going in the right direction. One more. Now this seam allowance here, oh, I forgot to pin this side. This is a good place to pin that seam allowance down. I just had it folded over a little bit, didn't get ironed quite properly, but we'll be good to go. I'm going to pause right here. I'm going to grab my purple thing and I'm going to make sure that this is going in the direction that I want it to go. There we go. And now we are going to press
away from J.
Away from our J square. So that means I am going to place these on my on my ironing pad with the J on the bottom. I'm going to set that seam. And I am going to press this open. Or not open, but to the side. It's a little wonky. That looks better. It's easy to distort things with your iron. But usually, because we're not pressing with steam, we can get them back into shape. There's two. I'm at a funny angle here too, it doesn't help.
Am I in the way?
That's okay. This is one of the things too that I usually like to do, is I would sew all my units and then I will get up. I don't usually sew with my iron on my cutting table like this. I will get up and walk across the room to where my ironing board is. It helps my back. I get to do that little stretch in between. I don't get too stiff after sitting for 3 or 4 hours. I might even do a little stretch on my way there. There we go. So now what I have to do is the folded corners with the J. So there's 2 different ways that you can cut, you can do and sew. So the first one is with the 1.5 inch, and the second one is with the 2 1/4 inch squares that we've cut into half on a diagonal. So I'm going to show you with the 1.5 inch because that's the traditional way.
Flip over your board.
Oh, yes, thank you. I don't want to cut on my my mat. Okay. So the first thing what we're going to do, the first method, is we're going to draw a line from corner to corner. And we are just going to sew on that line, or like one thread beside the line. So I am just going to draw this line on this one unit. Whoops. And you can't see that at all, Tiffany. Here, I've got a... Will this one work? There, they can see that one.
Okay.
Alrighty. So remember how I said that when you draw the line, you have to analyze where it is? So I can see that my line didn't quite go up to my corner. So that means I have to be starting to sew over here quite a distance from this drawn line. And then I will be just about, say, touching it on the end. So remember I said before that the ladies that have the machines with the lasers, I had a couple questions that they said, what do you mean laser? So that's why I wanted to use this machine today.
Let me come in. Are you in front of your machine properly?
Yeah, I'm okay.
Okay, because I'm going to come as close as I can.
Okay. So I can change my foot if I want, or I can use this one because I'm going to be drawing on the line. So over here I have a button that says turn my laser on, and I am going to turn on the laser, and you can see that I now have a red laser light coming directly off of my needle. That with this machine especially, that laser can be adjusted to be the 1/4 inch. But at this point, all I have to do is if I put it in the needle down position, I can place that laser exactly where I want it to be. So I'm going to start sewing here with my needle on that side. And now I can line up this laser on this corner. And I really didn't have to draw the lines. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold that corner over, make sure that it lines up with my edges, and it does. So now I can trim that corner off. So I can do that one more time because I have 4 blocks.
This time you are going to do it with this.
I've got...
With the small square.
I'm going to do one more time with this, and then I'm going to have the 2.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So again.
Sorry. No. With the small square in this, because you've got the 2 folded.
Oh, okay. You're right. So the other way that I can do it using the small square, if I have the folded corner ruler, I can align my 1.5 inch square up on the corner. I'm going to take the flat part of my ruler on the flat of my block.
And this is the Simple Folded Corner Ruler by Doug Lecco. You can use the large one, or Cindy's using the small one right now.
They're exactly the same, just one's bigger than the other. So I've got a solid line on the left-hand side, and I will be cutting off the triangle, but it'll have a flat top. So my 1.5 inch line goes along the side, as well as on the bottom of my square. And what I'm going to do there is I am just going to cut that corner off, and now I can sew. I'm going to just leave my laser on because it will help me as well. I'm going to start at that corner so you can see that the 1/4 inch is lining up perfectly against the line of the edge of my block that I just cut. You can see my laser's going right to that corner. So it's just another guideline. It sort of works like that tape that we had previous.
Most importantly with this method, you get to sew with your 1/4 inch seam though.
Exactly. So with this one, I've already cut my corner. So when I fold it up, I have to make sure that it's going to be exactly right. So it should line up perfectly. I am just going to drop my stitching down a little bit because these corners are so tiny. I'm going to stitch at a 1.5. So now if you wanted to do the other square, for the people that want to do that little bit extra, this is a 2 1/4 inch square cut once on the diagonal. So I'm going to cut my corner exactly the same way as I just did on this block. I am going to line up the flat on the top, and the 1.5 inch line goes on the side. I don't have a square there, so I can't see the 1.5 on the horizontal, but this vertical is going like 1/2 inch there, flat on the top, and I'm going to cut that corner off. Now I'm going to take that oversized corner, and I am just going to place it on my unit, and I am going to approximately centered. It's just sticking out on both sides. I can probably turn this laser off now, eh? Yeah, there we go. So now I'm just going to sew with the 1/4 inch seam. So because this unit here is cut precisely, that's why I'm sewing with it on the top. I want to control my 1/4 inch seam so it's as best as I can be. My fabric K square on the bottom is oversized. So if it moved a little bit or jiggled sideways or didn't quite get lined up properly, that's okay because I have fudge room. So now we have to press this, and I would really press this with the iron, but my mat's upside down. So we're just going to turn it over. Before I trim it, I really want to press it. And I am just going to press that one, and I am going to press that one. And now, oh, I have one more. Let's sew that one on here as well. Again, we'll use the large square. Or which way did they want me, which way should I do this?
Yeah.
This way? Okay. So I'm finding my 1.5 inch line on the side, my flat top on the top, cutting that triangle off, going to sew my oversized corner on there. And we are going to press that. Again, pressing our seam towards the little corner. So now we're going to take our folded corner ruler, because you can see it's all the wrong size. I'm just going to rotate it, and I'm going to use this end. So that's square now because of the seam allowances. It's a 1-inch finished corner. So I'm going to take that 1-inch line and put it on the seam of that folded corner. The flat of my ruler will be lined up to the top and also on the side. So once that's all lined up, I just want to cut the corner. And because of all the seams in there, I am pushing some pressure just right on my corner. I've got a couple threads there that I'm just going to cut that I didn't cut off previous.
We also have grippy spray sprayed on the back of this ruler so that it doesn't shift while you're doing that.
Yes. So I don't want to cut my block. Remember, we measured that and we knew that it measured exactly 4.5 by 4.5. So we don't want to cut it. We just want to cut our corner.
I don't think we measured it, but we should have.
Yeah, we should have. So again, flat on the top, flat on the side, the 1-inch line on my seam, the best that I can. Cut, cut. And I'm not cutting the white because I shouldn't be seeing it anyways, or the background, just my corner. Any questions on any of those? So now the second thing that we have to, or the third thing that we have to do is sew our flying geese together. So I need 4 of my G, because these units again are all identical. So I have 4 of my G, and then I need 4 Fs. And I am going to sew. I'm actually just going to turn them sideways because I'm sewing this seam here. I want to make sure that this one's on the top so I can see where that intersection is of my seam allowance. So I'm going to line up, let's get these off the sewing machine. I'm going to pin my edges. I can pin my center if I want. So my edges are lined up and I'm going to sew. So now that I've got it sewing, I want to check that edge of my fabric to make sure they're lined up. I'm going to grab a purple thing or a stiletto or something because my seam should go right through that point. It should go right to say exactly where that laser is. It's not right in the center, but it's just over 1 thread from that point. So I am looking here to keep it aligned up. I am going to press that seam under and it's going right through. Lots of bulk, so I'm taking my time. And I'm sewing down to the bottom. I'm just going to cut that one off so you can see. So my thread went just to say it's above there. Be careful when you're sewing this because the sewing machines, they want to take the path of least resistance, so it's going to want to really slide sideways. So I really have to make sure that I hold it exactly and sew exactly where I want it to. So now when I open it up, I have not lost the nose of my goose. And again, this unit should measure
4.5-inch square.
4.5-inch square. It has to be pressed yet, but there we go. 4.5 by 4.5. Okay, so 3 more to do. Again, I'm going to pin this corner so the pin can help me. And then you can pin in the center if you like. but you're not matching any points or anything. It's just in the center. I'm just going to now align my edges, make sure they're all aligned. I can turn off my laser, whoops, so you can see right through that intersection. I'm just going to leave that in my machine, and I'm going to go to my next unit.
Cindy?
Yes.
Never mind.
Question.
Your block looked upside down, but it's not. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
Sorry for interrupting.
Does it look better now?
Yes, thank you. She flipped it over.
Any questions?
I don't see any questions in the chat. We did have a question from someone that came into the store, so I will mention it. If you are watching and wondering why you're not able to comment, you are probably not logged into YouTube. You do have to be logged into a YouTube account in order to comment.
That doesn't mean you have to do videos or anything like that. It's just that there's an account. They want to...
They just want an email and password from you.
They don't want people anonymously commenting, especially if it was derogatory or stuff. So they want a little...
they want to know who it is.
Yeah.
That's all.
Which makes sense.
Yeah.
Just
Will
making
you
sure
use your
that
purple
does...
thing instead of putting your finger under the needle, please?
Yeah, okay.
I don't know if they saw that, but I saw that.
Yeah. I was just holding it where it was supposed to go. Okay, so now we are going to again press towards our G unit. So I'm going to place my G unit on top. And then I am going to open up these corners.
I don't think you pressed this one with an iron yet.
I didn't?
No, I think you just
with my
pressed
fingers? Okay. Again, if you're having issues with those little corners, you can use that starch pen. It always helps. So tell me in the chat what your next project's going to be. I mean, like any quilter, you know, we're only in the middle of one project, but we already probably have another one on the horizon somewhere. What would you like to accomplish this year?
Or what would you like to see from us on our YouTube channel for projects?
Oh, that's a good idea too. We're always open to suggestions. Whether it's a project or whether it's a tip or a hint or something you're having problems with, for us to do a video. So now we have all our units done for our block. So we're going to place them on our design board. I'm just going to use my pressing mat right here. And we are going...
have another design
Oh, I have
board.
a design board. Yay! Thank you. It's so good to have a helper. So we are going to line these up. So this half square triangle unit, we want to place it so the K triangle is on the outside. We're going to have our 4 patch in the middle.
It doesn't matter which way your 4 patch, whether H or I are at the top left corner, because if you rotate the unit, it will be good.
Good point. And then we are going to place our Flying Goose unit with the fabric G Flying Goose touching our 4 patch. So you can see that we're actually making a 9 patch this week. It's just that each of our patches has more pieces as opposed to a single square. So all we're going to do now is sew them together. I personally like to sew together in rows. Some people like to sew together in columns. It's whatever you like to do. So I am going to place these together. Because we pressed the way Tiff said, we have a seam that butts very nicely in the center. Again, because it's a butting seam, a nesting seam, I do want to pin it. I will pin this second unit and line up our edge. I want to make sure that that seam on the bottom is facing up, so I just check to make sure it's going in the right direction. So now I'm going to take my next units and I am going to again place them. I'm leaving this in there to hold my threads, right side to the left side, and now I have to nest this seam right with the point of my goose. I can do that by, if I want to mark the seam here where the 1/4 inch is, I can. I'm just going to eyeball this today, see how good I am in that seam. And my pin will be right in the nose of my goose, right there. I'm going to wiggle and jiggle, lining up my top edges so my pin is nice and straight. And then I can just pin it together, or I could have taken another pin and pinned it as well. Pin my edge. This one's lined up nice and straight. You can see that it's all bumpy and bulky. I'm just going to stretch it out just a little bit, making sure things lie nice and flat. And now I'm going to go to my next unit and I'm going to again nest those seams. So they're lined up very nicely.
West End Quilter says she's working on a Christmas tree quilt.
Ooh, fun.
With 12-inch blocks for a border. That's a big border.
I love Christmas quilts. Not this past Christmas, but the Christmas before, I made Christmas quilts for not only my 3 kids for their beds, not lap quilts, but for the beds, as well as my 5 grandchildren. They'll have a nice keepsake from Grandma. So now if I take this out of the sewing machine, I can place them back on my mat, and I know exactly where they are because this is the last one that just came out of the onto the machine. It will go there, and then my middle one, and then my first one. And if you're not sure, just take a second, open them up, and make sure that they're still all in the right direction. It's so much easier to take that second to make sure they're in the right direction than sew them in the wrong direction and have to unsew. It's not as much fun either. So now, again, we're going to nest this seam. I am going to line up my edges. And we'll sew our first row. Again, I'm really making sure I hold it exactly where it is and use that scant 1/4 inch seam. Next unit, flying goose to that seam. I do want to match that again just to make sure it's as best that I can. So I'm eyeballing that 1/4 inch. But you could absolutely draw your line if you wanted to. I think we did that last week, didn't we?
I think so.
But it is lined up. If your pin's at an angle like this, that just doesn't mean it's lined up. So long as we have our top lined up and our pin will be horizontal. Oh, sorry. Our pin will be horizontal. We'll be good to go. And then our last piece to sew our rows together, again nesting that seam. Now I stress perfection, or the best that we can, a lot, because we do want to get better and we do want to you know, be proud of our quilting. That being said, let's see, how do I say this?
A done quilt is better than a perfect quilt?
Yes. Remember where you are in your stage of quilting, in your quilting career. And if you are a beginner, give yourself some leeway. And I always say as well, there's 2 different quilts that we do. We first can make a quilt that we are going to use it maybe in a quilt show, or whether it's going to be judged. You want that to be the absolute perfect that you can. But then most of the quilts that we do, or an heirloom quilt maybe, you know, you want those to be as perfect as you can. But a lot of the quilts we do, they're for the love of quilting, and they're going to grandchildren, and I want to see my grandkids maybe using it to make a tent or have a picnic under the tree, or using it to death. It's to cuddle with on the couch and it gets thrown in the washing machine. They'll never know if there's a point off. They're not going to care. So if you can live with it, just be happy that, you know, you've got a quilt for them to love. So now we're going to press our seams. So these seams we're going to press out. This seam we're going to press in, away from our point, and this seam we're going to press out. So our first unit,
You're going to need that ironing board.
We're going to that's a cutting board.
Yeah.
Okay. So I want to press these out, so I am just going to place them with that corner unit up, set my seam, and press. If you're confident, you can just flip that one down and press, or you could turn your whole unit around. Again, getting a lot of seams, there's a lot of little points in there. You might want to use that starch pen. Same with this one. It's the outside, so we're pressing towards the outside. Just going to flip this around. It's a little easier with my sewing machine here to do it that way. And this unit we want to press towards our 4 patch. So I'm going to start with my 4 patch on the top, set that seam, open it up, and press. So this one would be really difficult to try to fold it this way. So I'm just going to take a minute, flip it back, and press that seam. So I have 2 seams left to do for today's block. I'm placing them, making sure that everything still looks perfect. So now I just have to sew my next 2 seams. I have lots of places that are going to intersect on this one, so I'm going to do lots of pinning. So again, right sides together. So I have pretty much everywhere there's a block, there's seams, I am going to pin. So I am going to nest this seam. I have another seam nested here. If your fabrics have really lots of gap in here, one of your seams might need to be adjusted. One of them might be too big or too small, because remember, they were all 2.5 inch, so they should fit together. I am going to just pin match this point of my goose with the seam of my 4 patch. And I'll do these other seams. And it's nice that all our seams nest together. It makes our job a little bit easier. That one's a lot of lump there. I just wanted to make sure that I had it correct. And the edge, and we're good to go. Woo! Okay, so I have it in here. Now I have to make sure that my seam allowances are always going in the right direction on the bottom, that they didn't get twisted. So I always want to check and make sure before I sew them down. So I'm just going to grab my seams going up on this one. So I want to make sure it goes underneath my foot properly. I'm going to go to the next one, make sure everything's lined up. Making sure I have a little bit of bulk in here on this one, not very much. So I am just going to make sure that I hold it and everything lines up perfectly. Seam allowance went under the foot. Again, there's that V for my flying goose, so I want to try to hit that. And this time we're going to be pressing towards the center, so towards our 4 patch. So I can do that now before I put the other row on. Again, I'm just going to set that seam. I have a lot of bulk. I really want to make sure that those seams are going where I want them to go, so I can feel underneath. Making sure that we're good to go. We're going to put that next row on and do exactly the same thing. Lining up my corner.
Because it has been such a long video putting this block together, we're probably going to wrap up as soon as the block is done. So if you do have any questions, please ask them now.
Again, butting up. 1/4 inch. It takes a while to get all the seams nested, but if you take your time and get them nested and sew it right the first time, it takes a lot less time than having to unsew. I have to tell you, I spent all day Saturday unsewing because I put a binding on wrong on a quilt. Never noticed until it was absolutely done.
She didn't put the binding on wrong. She put the wrong binding on the wrong quilt.
Yeah. And you know, it went on so beautifully. It was all perfect until I had to take it off. Gain one last seam. Watching that 1/4 inch of my goose. I don't want to lose his nose. Or I guess it's beak, eh?
Oh, we've always called it a nose.
We've always called it a nose. Our geese have noses. That seam was a little distorted. I don't know if you could tell at the picture. I should mention it. It's because of the way the pin was pinned in there. So I removed the pin and it flattened out perfectly. Yeah. There we go. Again, so I'm going to be pressing this seam towards our forepatch. So I'm going to place it with the forepatch up. Open that. Now, if we measure this, it should measure exactly.
You didn't iron. That didn't flip the right way, is what I'm trying to say.
Just the corner one.
Just the
yeah.
corner.
So this should measure exactly 6.5. One of the things that I want to say,
12.5.
or 12.5, sorry. One of the things I want to say right now, if you measure this and it's a little small, like I'm talking like a 16th inch or something, you can stretch your block out a little bit with some steam. It's a hard one to see.
But it's a 12.5 inch square. So.
Oh, okay. Right. So I can see that I am absolutely perfect. Everything is great. I do not want to square things up. I have a little bit of a wow here. That's probably just because of the pressing. I will fit that into the quilt. So what I was going to say, if it was just a smidgen too small, if you take your steam, you can relax this block and press it out, that it will actually fit really nicely. I don't have any water in my iron, but what I like to do at this point, remember how I said I don't press with steam when I'm making my units? Once I have a block together, I could just give it a little bit of steam and I can make it just lie nice and flat. And there you go. Oh, I'm loving my colors. It's so nice to see this thing coming together, isn't it?
When there is so much, sorry, we have a question. When there is so much bulk, do you ever suggest pressing seams open?
I try not to press open. Sometimes you do, just because there's a lot of bulk and a lot of points. If you're having a lot of difficulty, I have two thoughts about pressing open. First off, it actually takes away the opportunity to quilt in the ditch. So when you quilt in the ditch, you can see that you quilt like sort of beside the seam allowance. So you are actually sewing on full fabric. If you have your seam allowances open, then there is no ditch. And if you try to sew in that seam, you're actually just stitching on the thread that's holding it together. Your needle could actually clip one of those threads and your quilt might come apart. The second thing is sometimes they say that batting can beard through. Again, because it's a fully open seam that doesn't have any fabric there, that it's just thread, sometimes some of the battings can just beard through. You can see little fuzzies coming through on your quilt. So I try not to open seams, but you know what? Sometimes you just have to, especially if it was a block, like say you were putting the two noses of the geese together. It is such a heavy seam there that usually I end up pressing it open. But again, that's a personal preference. So if you would rather press open, because you know you're just going to do a meander or an overall or something on your quilt that you're not going to want to stitch in the ditch, then go right ahead.
And we have someone that, how many blocks? 6.
We're making 6 12.5-inch blocks of this, and we're going to call it block 2.
And then just a comment that said thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. So it was very nice being with you today. I did miss you all last week. So I don't know. Happy quilting. Did anybody do anything for National Quilt Day that was on Saturday? I know.
This is what we're doing for Quilt Day.
Quilt Day. Yeah, I know. I sewed. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed this lesson. If you have any questions, don't hesitate. You could ask me on Facebook as well, or send us an actual message if you want it to be private.
And please post pictures of your blocks in the Facebook group. We love seeing them.
I'm loving all the different colors and variations, and it's inspirational to not only us, but to everybody else to see the same blocks, the same quilt coming together in so many different colorways. So thank you everybody for joining us today. Happy quilting. Bye now.